name is Chong Mei Chin, and I'll be talking about the description of coral reef. A coral reef is a marine ecosystem formed by coral polyps with hard skeletons made of calcium carbonate. Coral reefs support more than 25% of marine species. Coral reefs are also important for human activities like tourism, fisheries, and shoreline protection. Without coral reef, there will be food insecurity, loss of biodiversity, erosion, and flooding. However, coral reefs are facing multiple threats, including human activities and climate change. Human activities like overfishing can harm coral reef by removing important algae-eating fish, allowing algae to overgrow and damage the reef. In contrast, climate change has caused sea temperatures to rise. As a result, zooxanthellae are expelled from the corals, causing coral bleaching. And I'm passing to Ng Zien, and she'll be talking about the distribution of coral reef.
I'm Ng Zien. So I'm going to talk about the factor that cause the distribution of coral reef. So the first is environmental and oceanogenic factor. So the first, light penetration. So actually sunlight is necessary for the coral to live, and it actually grow faster in clear water. So the second is water temperature. So the coral actually grow in ideal temperature around 25 to 29 degrees Celsius. And the third is salinity. So coral live in stable marine salinity level. The second factor is biotic factor, which the first is strong wave action. So the wave actually carry the foods, nutrients, and oxygen to the reef. And the second is symbiotic algae. So actually coral have a symbiotic relationship with algae, and those require sunlight for photosynthesis. So now I'm going to pass to Mingru. She will talking about the physical parameter of coral reef. Thank you.
Thank you, Zien. There are 5 physical parameters of ecosystem coral reef. First is the sea surface temperature, SST. The optimum SST for the growth of coral reef is between 22 to 28 degrees Celsius. Prolonged high SST may cause coral reef to expel the symbiotic algae, causing the coral reef to degrade, bleaching, and death. Second is light. It is primordial of photosynthesis for zooxanthellae to produce food for coral reef. Third is depth. The ideal depth for the growth of coral reef is 45 to 55 meters below sea surface. As the depth increases, the light attenuates and coral diversity decreases. Current plays a role in helping coral reef to capture food and gaseous exchange. However, high flow of seawater may cause damage and reduce the ability of coral reef to capture food. Last is sedimentations. Sediment substance can attenuate the penetrations of light. It may inhibit the development of coral larvae by reducing the energy to mature the ova and embryo. Next, Yawon will introduce the chemical parameters of ecosystem coral reef.
Apart from physical parameters, there are some chemical factors that affecting coral reef health. First, salinity. Coral thrive in ocean salinity of 30 to 35 precipitations. A sudden drop due to freshwater can cause stress or even kill reefs. Next, pH. The optimal range is 8 to 8.3. Lower pH reduces calcium availability, hence weakening coral skeleton. Dissolved oxygen is also crucial. Levels between 5 to 6 milligram per liter can support coral metabolisms, while hypoxic condition can slow growth and lead to nutrients like calcium, magnesium, and nitrates are essential in small amount, but too much can lead to algal blooms and reduced calcifications. Finally, pollutants like copper, sunscreen chemicals, pesticides, and oil even at low concentration can harm coral reproductions, cause bleaching, and damage tissues. Next, I'll pass down to Jain to introduce the amazing plant species living in coral reef ecosystems.
Thank you, Yawon, for explaining the chemical parameters of ecosystem coral reef. Hi, my name is Jain. Now, let's explore some of the most representative and abundant plant species found in the coral reef. First, under phytoplankton, which are microalgae, we have zooxanthellae, tiny algae that live inside coral tissues, providing them with essential nutrients through photosynthesis. Alongside them are diatoms, known for their unique glass-like cell walls and their role as a primary food source in the ocean. Next, moving to seaweed or macroalgae. Here we have sea lettuce, a bright green algae often found along shorelines. Then there is red seaweed, valued both ecologically and commercially. And next are brown seaweed, which includes species like kelp, forming underwater forests. Lastly, in the flowering plant category, we have dead seagrass, a vital habitat for marine life, and mangroves, coastal trees that protect shorelines and provide diverse wildlife. That's all from me. Next, I will pass to Esther to explain the most representative and abundant animal species found in coral reef. Thank you.
Thank you, Jain. To begin with, the coral species form the very foundation of reef ecosystem. One of them is staghorn coral. It is a fast-growing species with branching arms. In contrast, mushroom coral is a mobile coral with a disc-like shape. Moving on to fish species, which are the key consumers in the reef food web. For example, clownfish, which forms a mutual relationship with sea anemones, gaining protection while feeding on algae and small invertebrates. Similarly, parrotfish plays a crucial role in reef health. Lastly, we have invertebrates, which act as ecological engineers. For example, giant clam, which holds a symbiotic algae in its mantle, it gains nutrients through photosynthesis and also filter jets, which enhance the water quality. Meanwhile, the reef octopus is a predator, which helps to control the populations of crustaceans and fish. Now I'll pass the time to Xue Ying, which will be talking about the Spatial Organization of Biodiversity.
Hi, my name is Su Ying, and now I'm going to explain about the spatial organization of biodiversity of coral reefs. Coral reefs are like underwater cities. They have both horizontal and vertical zones, shaped by sunlight, water clarity, wave energy, and seafloor type. In Malaysia, coral reefs are super diverse because they grow in everything from clear ocean waters to muddy bays. We have different reef types like fringy reefs, barrier reefs, atolls, and patch reefs. Horizontally, reefs start with reef lap, which is shallow and sunny, perfect for Poecilopora and Acropora. Next is the reef crest, where strong waves hit, so only tough Acropora survive. Then there is a reef slope, going deep, where shadier species live. And behind the crest, in the calm lagoon, you will find porites and goniopora. Some corals, like Galaxia, even thrive in murky, muddy waters. Thank you, and I'll pass to my friend Hui Jie, and she will be explain about the vertical zone.
Thanks, Su Ying. Now I'm talking about the vertical zonation. This slide shows vertical zonation in coral reef, which refer to how coral species are distributed by depth. We divide the zone into 3 layers. The first zone, shallow zone. This area has the brightest light and is typically home to fast-growing, light-living coral like Cataphilia and Acropora. The second zone is the mid-depth zone. Here, light is reduced. Coral like Trachyphilia and Diceris adapt to this moderate light condition. And the third zone, deep zone. Light is dim and the water is more sheltered. Corals such as Blastomussa and Plyrogyra are commonly found here, as they can tolerate low light level. This zonation reflects how different coral species adapt to light and energy availability with increasing depth. Now I'll pass to Su Hui.
Thanks, Hui Jie. Now I want to talk about some possible organism interaction in a coral reef. First of all, we need to know about some meaning of words. First is the producer. They are mostly green plant. They are autotroph, synthesize the food through the photosynthesis. The second is the consumer. They are heterotroph, obtain energy from the producer or other consumer. For information, only 10% of energy will transfer and another 90% of energy will lost as heat. Last is the decomposer. They are bacteria. They feed on dead and rotten plants or animals. Besides, consumer also divided into primary consumer. They are herbivore. They make second trophic level in the food chain. The next is a secondary consumer, also called mesopredators. They feed on other animals. And the last one is a tertiary consumer, also called apex predator. They are top carnivores. Now I will pass to Ziying. She will talk about the food chain and the food web in the coral reef.
Thank you, Shuhui. Hi, I'm Ziying. Today I'll briefly explain a food chain and food web in the coral reef ecosystem. A food chain shows a linear flow of energy. In this example, energy moves from phytoplankton, the producer, to zooplankton, primary consumer, then to the butterfly fish, secondary consumer, followed by a reef shark, tertiary consumer, and finally to bacteria, which decompose organic matter. A food web shows how food chains are connected. For example, zooplankton can be eaten by both parrotfish and butterfly fish, while reef sharks feed on those fish and fowl-fish. Bacteria recycle nutrients from all levels. To conclude, these interactions show how energy flows and how all organisms depend on one another to keep their ecosystem balanced. That's all from me. Thank you.